They say every fairy tale hides a shadow, and Meghan and Harry's story is no exception. The whirlwind romance, the dazzling royal wedding watched by billions. But now, a Hollywood co-star has come forward with details that shatter the glossy picture. Because while Meghan was falling for Prince Harry, she was reportedly living with another man and texting a third. This is a timeline the world was never meant to see. So, tell me again, the host asked, what movie did you do with Meghan Markle? A Dater's Handbook, replied actor Christopher Palaha. And when was that? About 6 months before she met Harry. Palaha, a Hallmark regular, worked alongside Meghan in A Dater's Handbook, filmed between late September and early December 2015 in Toronto. It wasn't glamorous, just a small production, but he remembers it vividly because Meghan talked a lot during filming. She opened up about her life, her failed marriage to producer Trevor Engelson, and her then-current relationship with Toronto chef Cory Vitiello. And according to Palaha, she wasn't happy with either man. Years later, in a casual podcast interview, Palaha dropped what sounded like an offhand memory, but what he said should have made headlines. He claimed Meghan told him she was never in love with Trevor, not even once. 10 years together, a wedding in Jamaica, and she supposedly confided to a co-star that her marriage had been empty. Brutal, but it didn't end there. At that very moment, Meghan was living with Cory. They'd been together since 2014, a serious relationship, close to family, even talk of marriage. Yet on set, she allegedly admitted she wasn't into him either. Think about that. She's sharing a home with one man, talking about love with another, and hinting that her heart wasn't really in either place. So I stay. What was she waiting for? He was divorced, living with a man she didn't really love, and, according to Christopher Palaha, already talking about moving on. I remember asking her. He said, "Why are you dating someone you're not even into? You just got out of a marriage." Meghan supposedly agreed. She texted him in 2015, saying she'd ended things with Cory and was ready to be footloose and fancy-free. Except that wasn't true. Not even close. The texts Palaha received tell one story, but the timeline, the evidence, paints something much darker. Before diving into the chaos of 2015 and 2016, there's someone we have to talk about first, Trevor Engelson, because his story sets the tone for everything that came next. Trevor was a film producer, ambitious, grounded, and by all accounts, a genuinely good guy. He met Meghan in 2004, back when she was still a struggling actress hustling for small TV roles. They dated for 7 years before getting engaged, and in September 2011, they tied the knot in Jamaica, a dreamy beach wedding surrounded by friends and family. By all appearances, they were happy, but that changed when Meghan landed her breakout role on Suits. She moved to Toronto for filming, while Trevor stayed in Los Angeles running his production company. They tried the long-distance thing, or at least Trevor thought they did. By 2013, it was over. Meghan filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. It looked clean and quiet. No public drama, no big scandal. But behind the scenes, it was anything but gentle. Because Meghan didn't call. She didn't meet him. She didn't even explain. She simply mailed her wedding and engagement rings back to him, like returning something she no longer wanted. Friends of Trevor say he was shattered. 10 years together, and that's how it ended, through the mail. Cold, calculated, final. Trevor never spoke publicly about it, never sold his story, never trashed her in interviews. But the people close to him say he was never the same again. And looking back, that breakup, quiet on the surface, brutal underneath, might have been the first glimpse of the pattern that was yet to come. He eventually moved on, quietly, without drama, built a new life, even remarried. But those who knew Trevor best say he never truly understood what happened. One day, they were husband and wife. The next, she was gone. No explanation, no closure, just 2 rings in a box. It should have been a warning sign, but back then, no one was paying attention. After Trevor, Meghan stayed single for about a year. Then, in 2014, she met Cory Vitiello, and that's where things get interesting. Cory wasn't some Hollywood name. He was a chef, a successful one, known around Toronto's food scene. He owned a few restaurants, including the Harvard Room and later, flock rotisserie. Down to earth, charming, a local celebrity who knew everyone worth knowing. Meghan had actually reviewed one of his restaurants on her lifestyle blog, The Tig. That's how they connected. From there, things moved fast. Soon she moved into his place. They built a life together, cooking, hosting friends, spending holidays with his family. Christmas of 2015, she was right there at family dinners. Corey's mother adored her, thought she was perfect, thought they were heading toward marriage. And she wasn't wrong to think that. Friends say Meghan was introduced as Corey's fiancée, not officially engaged, but close enough. That wasn't casual dating. That was commitment. But behind the scenes, a different story was unfolding. While Meghan was playing house in Toronto, she was confiding in her Dater's Handbook co-star, Christopher Palaha, about how unhappy she was. During filming in late 2015, she told him she wasn't into Corey, just like she hadn't been into Trevor. Palaha remembered asking, "Why are you with someone you don't even care about? You just got out of a marriage. Be free for a while." Meghan agreed, or at least pretended to. According to Palaha, she texted him in January 2016, saying she'd taken his advice, broken up with Corey, single again, ready to see what the world had to offer. But that wasn't true. Because on New Year's Eve 2015, just days before that supposed breakup, Meghan and Corey were together, flying off to Iceland to ring in the New Year side by side. One of Corey's close friends was getting married, a destination wedding, the perfect romantic getaway, and Meghan was right there beside him. They rang in the New Year together, surrounded by friends, taking photos, laughing, looking every bit the couple in love. Because to Corey, that's exactly what they were. After Iceland, though, Meghan didn't head straight back to Toronto. She made a few stops, Ireland, London, different cities across the U.S. It almost looked like she was networking, meeting people, setting the stage for something bigger. Eventually, she returned to Toronto and slipped right back into the same routine, the same house, the same relationship, the same man who still believed everything was fine. Then, just weeks later, in January 2016, she texted her co-star Christopher Palaha, saying she'd broken up with Corey, that she was single now, free, ready to see what's out there. Except she wasn't. There was no breakup. She was still living with him, still showing up as a devoted girlfriend, still playing the part. That's when Palaha's story becomes critical, because what he revealed next completely shatters the official timeline. A Dater's Handbook aired in February 2016. After that, Meghan and Palaha stayed in touch, friendly messages, light conversation, nothing out of the ordinary. But in March 2016, just 2 months after that "I'm single" text, another message appeared on his phone. Well, she wrote, "I met someone." Palaha asked if she liked him. Her reply, "I kind of do." Now, pause for a second. 2 months. Meghan went from "I'm single and ready to mingle" to "I met someone I kind of like." 8 weeks. That's fast, suspiciously fast. But here's where things start to unravel completely. When someone says, "I met someone," what do they really mean? It doesn't usually mean they just bumped into a person yesterday. It means they've been seeing someone for a while, dating, talking, connecting, and it's finally serious enough to mention. So if Meghan told Christopher Palaha in March 2016 that she'd met someone, it likely meant that relationship had already been building for weeks, maybe longer. Nobody announces a brand new romance on day one. After that text, Meghan went quiet. Palaha didn't think much of it. People get busy, especially when they are falling for someone new. He assumed life had simply moved on. But here's the problem. In March 2016, Meghan was still living with Corey, still posting photos that looked picture perfect, still playing the role of the committed girlfriend. And Corey? He had no idea she was seeing anyone else. As for the someone she mentioned, that part comes later. But to understand it, we need to rewind to the summer of 2016, the season when Meghan's double life became impossible to hide. Summer in Toronto. Meghan Markle was filming Suits, sharing a home with Corey Vitiello, and, secretly, seeing Prince Harry. Let's look at the official version first. According to Meghan and Harry's engagement interview, they met in July 2016, introduced by a mutual friend on a blind date. Sparks flew instantly, and the rest was royal history. But Palaha's messages tell a different story. Meghan had claimed to be single in January. By March, she'd met someone. That's 4 months before the supposed first meeting with Harry. The math doesn't line up. The official timeline collapses, and no one seems to be asking why. On July 22nd, 2016, Meghan posted on Instagram, thanking Flock Rotisserie and the Harvard Room, Koi's restaurants, for feeding her and her mom while Dory was visiting Toronto. Publicly, she was still the supportive girlfriend, tagging his businesses, acting like everything was fine. But privately, behind the filters and captions, Prince Harry had already been to Toronto. They had been secretly dating, sneaking around, keeping everything under wraps, from friends, from the press, and most importantly, from Koi. According to Tom Bauer's book Revenge, Meghan described that period as tricky but manageable. Think about that. Managing 2 men at once, one she lived with, one she planned to marry into royalty, and she called it manageable. But cracks started to show. Koi could sense something was wrong. The last few months of their relationship were tense, cold, and confusing. He knew she was distant but didn't understand why. Then came Botswana, a 5-day trip under the stars with Prince Harry. No press, no cameras, no distractions. Just the two of them in the wilderness. When Meghan came back from that trip, everything changed. She had Harry, emotionally, romantically, completely. The prince was smitten, and Meghan knew it. Koi, at that point, wasn't a boyfriend anymore. He was an obstacle. So she ended it. Fast, clean, cold. Sources close to Koi say he was almost relieved. The tension, the distance, the quiet suspicion, it all made sense in hindsight. When it was over, he finally felt free. Koi never spoke publicly, never sold his story, never attacked Meghan. He just moved on. But those who knew him said the same thing. He was used. She kept him around until something better came along. And when that better thing turned out to be a prince, she walked away without looking back. That's the pattern. That's the blueprint. That's who Meghan Markle is when nobody's watching. October 31st, 2016, Halloween. Christopher Palaha was just going about his day when his phone buzzed. A text from Meghan Markle, the first in months. The news is going to break today. He asked, "What news?" Her reply stopped him cold. "The guy I met in March. It's Prince Harry." Prince Harry. The actual Prince Harry, and she'd known since March, 7 months earlier. That meant 7 months of secret dating, 7 months of hiding, 7 months of living a double life, while the world believed her fairy tale had just begun. That's not how someone shares a love story. That's how someone announces a win. A victory lap, not a confession of the heart. November 2016. Kensington Palace officially confirms it. Prince Harry is dating Meghan Markle, and just like that, the fairy tale begins. The headlines explode. The world swoons, and in the glow of royal romance, everyone forgets. They forget Trevor, the husband who got his wedding rings mailed back like a return package. They forget Koi, the man she lived with, the man who thought they had a future. They forget the timeline that doesn't add up except one person, Christopher Palaha. He still has the receipts, the text messages that prove it all. Proof that in March 2016, Meghan was still in a relationship. Proof that she told multiple people long before the world found out. Proof that she was living with one man while secretly falling for another. Palaha isn't cashing in. He's not selling interviews or writing exposés. That is simply telling the truth, the version of events he personally witnessed, and for that, somehow he's a villain. So let's lay out the facts. From October 2015 to November 2016, 3 men's lives overlapped in one woman's story. Times Trevor Engle's son, blindsided by a marriage that ended without a word. Times Koi Vitiello, building a life with someone who was already planning her next move. Times Prince Harry, stepping into a relationship unaware of the wreckage left behind. And those are just the confirmed names. There were whispers, a golf pro, a hockey player, other men in Toronto. Stories that never made headlines because the details were too humiliating. Through it all, Christopher Palaha holds the messages, the dates, the proof. But the mainstream media looks the other way. Royal reporters refuse to touch it, and Meghan's defenders dismiss it as jealousy or misogyny. But this isn't about hate. It's not about gender. It's about a pattern. One that repeats, one that leaves a trail of broken hearts and unanswered questions, that a pattern that turned a love story into something much darker, not romance, but strategy. A pattern of using people until something better came along, a pattern of calculated moves disguised as love. The men she left behind don't speak out, not because they are scared or silenced, but because they are embarrassed. Embarrassed they believed it, embarrassed they were played, embarrassed that they gave their hearts to someone who only saw them as stepping stones. Meghan knew exactly who to choose. Successful men, kind men, men too dignified to ever fight back, men who wouldn't sell their stories, who would protect her image just by staying quiet. Trevor rebuilt his life, found happiness again. Corey moved on too, never bitter, never public, but their silence, that silence became her shield. It allowed the fairy tale to stand. The story that she was single, searching, innocent when she met Harry. It let her rewrite history, polish the timeline, and erase the mess behind it. But when you look closer, the truth gets darker. October 2015 to November 2016. Just 13 months. 3 confirmed men. 3 broken hearts. And one woman who walked away from it all straight into the arms of Prince. She knew how to play the game. Keep Corey for stability. Chase Harry in secret. And when the time came, switch without a second glance. That's not romance, that's strategy code. Calculated. Ruthless. So what do you think? Was Harry a victim of a setup, or is this just another piece of royal drama spun out of control? Tell us in the comments below. And if this story made you see things differently, hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe, because this is only the beginning